So just to give you a little bit of background about Branch Out, we're a charity and we fund science. We fund the research within Canada, and our mission is to accelerate neuroscience. Um, sorry, we accelerate neuroscience for brains at their best. And we do this by accelerating tech and non-pharma solutions for neurological disorders. So we're interested in all neurological disorders. We're interested in finding solutions for all neurological disorders, but our main focus is on non-pharmaceutical and tech-based solutions. So we do this by filling a research gap, a funding gap that it doesn't exist. So we historically have not prioritized non-pharmaceutical solutions. So we've been doing that since 2010 when we were first established. We ensure scientific validity through running a scientific review panel. So we have experts come on our board and they review all of our grant applications and make decisions based on meritorious science. We also try to inspire entrepreneurial culture within research and academia, and we seek to speed up the pace that it takes from ideas to clinical impact. And we also aim to attract a critical mass of experts within the non-pharma and tech-based solutions area across various industries. We function based on funding what we call NeuroCam, which is the neuroscience of complementary and alternative modalities of treatment and prevention. We have 4 main modalities, which includes the nutraceutical, mind, body, personalized treatment, and tech. So these are important because all of our grants that we fund have to fall under one of these or more modalities. So nutraceuticals includes everything from a focus on the gut health, supplements, vitamins, minerals, and diet. So a ketogenic diet or a variety of other diets. Also includes herbal medicine and any of the plant-based medicines that exist. Mind-body modality includes a variety of other lifestyle solutions, which may include like mindfulness or exercise, meditation, cognitive therapy, those types of things. We also focus on personalized treatments, so ways in which we can understand whether certain treatments can have a specific effect on certain types of people based on biomarkers, or whether tech solutions might be particularly geared for certain people and not others. And then the last one is a focus on tech solutions as well. So anything that might be a new or existing technology solution that could be used for a neurological condition, prioritizing ones that are new and emerging technologies, but also refinement of existing technologies as well. And we focus on both foundational research or basic research and translational research. So we care about studies that are lab-based, that look at how some of these neurocam modalities work. And we also look at, or we also are interested in translational research. So how can we take what we know from the lab or from the bench science and apply it in a clinical or a human population as well. Since 2010, we've funded over 180 research projects at universities across Canada. So 9 universities across Canada. Only within Canada, we only fund Canadian researchers. And we have had a growing number of publications come out as a result of that funding. So there are 118 published articles which have acknowledged Branch Out Neurological Foundation as a funding source. We have a variety of grant opportunities each year, so we work in a yearly cycle. Every year we give out about 10 to 15 undergrad summer research projects or grants for summer research projects. We also give out about 8 to 10 graduate fellowships as well each year. And then we have, I'm going to skip over special purpose for a second, but we also have impact grants, which are more about community impact. And so how we can take some of this research, or how students or people who apply for this could take some of this research and create a community impact with it. The one that we're going to talk about today is our special purpose grant. This is a catch-all for a variety of different grant opportunities that we've had in the past. And those are usually geared for a special purpose. In this case, it's supporting neurological health research with sex and gender data. And so I'm going to just give a couple details about this one and then turn it over to Allison to talk more about this. So we came together with My Normative to put together the special purpose grant so that we could help researchers advance their research by including sex and gender data into their research studies. So this is a partnership with My Normative, who has the platform that will make it easier for researchers. They do make it easier for researchers to include a variety of sex and gender data into the research program. We have up to $27,000 in research funds for this initiative. Most of that, or sorry, a portion of that would go to paying for the platform so that a researcher can include this into their research program. Some of that could go to other costs of research as well. But the goal is to allow and make it easy for researchers to collect factors that may relate to menstrual cycles or reproductive life stages, a variety of different sex and gender variables that could be non-invasively collected through mobile application technology. I'll come back to all of this stuff, but that's sort of it in a nutshell. I want to give it over to Allison so that she can speak a little bit more. I think we can come back to that. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just stop there, I'll come back to this at the end so we can go over the details of the grant, but Allison's going to walk us through My Normative and how this actually does make it easier for researchers.
Awesome. Great. Can everybody hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. And you can see my screen.
Yes.
For some reason, that's not showing me what you're seeing. So I just want to, you see the
first slide that says My Normative.
Okay. And now the diseases that impact
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, we are thrilled to be here today and partner with Branch Out Neurological Foundation and the Canopy Family Foundation on this opportunity, the special purpose grant. So My Normative is a health research company, and we're on a mission to facilitate equitable research. And Mandy alluded to a couple of those things. So thanks for some of that intro. We're just going to scroll through a couple slides, and then we'll do a quick demo to help some of this sink in about how we're facilitating the data collection and the analysis, and how we can support researchers in this space. And so I think that the momentum is growing around the health of women and some of the sex and gender data gap. But the reality is that diseases affect women differently and disproportionately. And every day there's new articles and stats coming out about how these are different. And so it's really imperative that we start to look at the differences across sex and gender, and go beyond just disaggregating the data, but going a little bit deeper. And so that is as really how My Normative came to be, and what we were trying to help facilitate in this lens around equitable research. So we help the research regardless of the domain, in this case, really looking from the neurological side. And so we offer a cost-effective and participant-friendly way to collect and analyze the sex and gender data, so that you can focus on breakthrough discoveries in the science, and less so on being an expert in sex and gender. And so our all-in-one data collection and analysis platform helps facilitate that. And we'll talk a little bit about how we do that. And so as we look at scale and impact, and optimizing costs, we account for sex and gender variability in data collection and management. So we look at the hormonal state, we look at life stage, we look at gender identity. We are helping facilitate reduced overhead and logistical demand per participant by using remote data capture, and ultimately reducing bench to bedside in the way that we are doing that and making that possible. So decentralizing your research, so facilitating that data collection across multiple sites and in some cases international collaborations. And we have enabled sample sizes 10 times bigger than the average hormonally tested sample size, how that's traditionally done or have been historically done. And then from a recruitment and retention perspective, we have lower participant burden with the use of our mobile app to collect the data and process for the hormonal identification. And because it's very patient-centered, and you'll see this in the demo, it's very intuitive and sleek, this has driven significant improvements to what we traditionally see from a retention perspective for participants using an app such as ours. So it's a comprehensive research solution. It's customizable, and we'll talk a little bit about how that's customizable end to end, and how we integrate and work with researchers to implement your study protocol and the things that you need asked. So we can look at the short and the long form, self-reported measures. We collect symptomology, and we have an opportunity to do some custom symptomology if there's things that are specific for your study. We look at ambient activity and biometric data, and have the opportunity to send notifications where appropriate to remind participants to complete their research activities. The product is structured for equitable data collection methods. So as we think about enabling the identification and disaggregation of sex and gender, it is fundamentally out of the box structured in a way for that to be collected and identified. We do look at reproductive life stages, events, changes in variability, and thinking about hormonally related symptoms for each life stage. And then we do collect serialized hormonal profiles out of the gate with some machine learning that has traditionally not been available for researchers to take advantage of. And lastly, here I'll mention our robust data security and privacy. We know that this is a really important component of everybody's research as we think about research and ethics boards and getting through those approvals and what are those global regulations. So we comply with them, and we have some proprietary privacy and de-identification processes to protect the data and make sure that it meets the needs of research. We do maintain data residency in the country, so in this case in Canada, regardless of if there's a multi-site included in a study. So how it works, I'll run through this quickly and then we'll get to the demo. So if we look at this from four easy steps, the My Normative team will work with a researcher to collect and understand what's in the study protocol, and we implement it on the My Normative companion app, so you get a custom implementation, and then you would deploy the companion app to participants to track their tasks and remotely submit their data. We have the My Normative portal that allows you to monitor and manage patient engagement. And then you can extract and analyze the data from that portal. And you can also build in knowledge translation. So we have a vehicle or a mechanism for you to build in and close that loop with research participants around some of those insights. So that's a brief high level. I briefly talked about our robust data security and privacy policies. I'm happy to send you some more of that information if that's helpful. And we've had proven impact. So we've been working with leading academic institutes in Canada, the University of Alberta, the University of Calgary, to name a few, to support them across a variety of different domains and different lifespans. So again, we're super excited here to support the researchers from this community And I would love to just pause this and jump into a demo, but I'll just ask Mandy because I just rambled for a really long time. Anything maybe you want to just briefly touch on before I switch to demo mode?
No, I was just going to give people an opportunity. Again, Allison's going to go into a demo, but if anyone has any questions right now, feel free to ask them. We'll engage questions about the platform before we go into the details of the grant. But does anyone have any questions right now before Allison goes into the demo? Yeah, Laura?
Hi, thanks for going through all of this information. It's been very helpful. So my question is, you had said it's customizable, or there's there's an opportunity for that. Otherwise, is it very much structured where the only information that researchers can use as part of their project is retained from the existing app?
I guess I'm not sure. Mandy, how would you perceive that question? I
Um,
don't want to make sure I'm answering it appropriately.
yeah, are you asking if there's like a base version that doesn't require customization that you could just extract data from, or
I'm
are you
wondering
asking something different?
if there's anything that can be added.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, can you give me an example of something that you might want to
Um,
add? And I will.
Maybe an example would be like blood pressure. There are lots of blood pressure devices at pharmacies and Walmarts and places like that.
Great. Okay, great clarification. I will show you in the app where we could add a place for people to track that information. And we could do a custom event tracking for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Cool. Okay, I will jump in here. You guys tell me if you can see the app. Let's see if we can get rid of that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so this is an example of a My Normative implementation on our mobile app. So this is available on iOS and Android. So there's parity there. But this person has already gone through onboarding and now they've logged into the companion app. And so I'm just going to pop into Avery's account so you can get a sense of some of the questions that we ask in the onboarding experience. So mentioned how we're considering sex and gender. We're also looking at some reproductive additional characteristics, thinking about are they using birth control? Is there an endometriosis that needs to be tracked and understood, PCOS. And then if I pop into settings, we're also looking at life stage. So what is the life stage? And really getting into the nitty gritty around their cycle. And here we also have the opportunity to look at ovulation tests and basal body temperature. And I'll show you where you'd be able to add more custom tracking when we go back here. And so Avery has the opportunity to join research, and she may have only heard about this through a research study that was already ongoing. And so if I pop into the My Research section down below, there's a variety of different research studies that she could join. And if I click into one of these, this is where some of that inclusion exclusion criteria and questionnaires would live. And in this case, they are going to enter a participant ID. Once they enter that participant ID, there's an opportunity to have the informed consent happen within this app experience. I'm just going to go back. This is also the section where long form or long form baseline exit surveys would appear, and they would be able to fill out in this section.
And so for in that section, Allison, that is
Yep.
where a researcher, like say whoever we fund for this, would put their project there. And so they would be recruiting their participants and then give them the code so that they could sign up using the app here. So their profile, the project profile would be listed here.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay, so long form questionnaires would appear in there. My demo, because I'm not logged into or I'm not entered into any of those studies. I can show you offline if someone wants to see a video of how that would look in a separate conversation. I just don't have it in this video or in this demo. But in the top corner, this is where those like short form, clinically validated questions that might be more reoccurring. Maybe you want to ask them daily, maybe you want to ask them bi-weekly, maybe you want to ask them monthly. This is where those would get implemented. And again, these are customizable. We do Likert scale, multiple choice, I'm forgetting one, as options. And this is kind of how they would experience that. The interesting thing, there is some feedback here. You have 7 questions remaining. And if I finish all of this for today, then it will tell me that I'm done. I'm just going to finish it off. They can also skip it and come back to it. So if they weren't done, it would still give them an indication that there was something to be completed from a make sure that the tasks are completed for your specific study. Now I'm going to pop into the yellow plus sign down here, because this is where we would add that custom blood pressure, for example, if that was something that you wanted them to record, whether that was daily or a specific time. But right now you're seeing cycle events, symptoms, activity, ovulation tests, basal body temperature, some of the ones that have already been implemented for other studies. I'm just going to select a cycle event. So this is where they would let us know that their period had started or ended. And I will also pop into some of the symptomology. So right now, the standard base symptomology has a library around 12, and that was very intentional. I know that sometimes there's over 70 symptoms that have been cited for various things, and so there is the opportunity to customize this based on what your study needs, but these are the most recorded or most mentioned that are here. But if there were symptoms that you specifically wanted to include, you could have that added as well. Activity, if you wanted to manually put in a workout that you were doing, you could do that. You could also link up a activity tracker to it to look at that. And then if you wanted them to record ovulation tests or basal body temperature, that can also be recorded here. I'll just pop into my cycle. This is where the high-level history and calendars come. And this is really thinking about the person who's participating and giving them some of the insights for themselves. And obviously you would get this data in a data abstract so that you can use it for your analysis later. And then my activity, this is where the history and where that logging would appear if you connected up a device as well. And then last, I'm going to just jump into, we do look at this across sleep, mood, motivation, and appetite. And so some of the those clinically validated questionnaires that we have in the today's questions feed the My Wellness section for folks. And then I'm not going to click into the learn more, but this is where some of that knowledge translation components show up. And so we do have some content that is available to them and gives them some general guidance on how they are traditionally really kind of connecting back to the science, I'll say. And this is where that vehicle, knowledge translation vehicle, would be available to you. Mandy, I'm going to pause there before I jump out of this and go into the portal.
Yep, that sounds
great. See if there's anything else.
Does anyone have any questions about the app, like the participant facing experience first before Allison goes to the back end? Okay.
All right, let me switch to the other screen. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you guys is the My Normative administration portal, where you would go to look at your data. And if you were using a starter version of the product, you could actually start your own project yourself through here. If it was an intermediate level project, which is likely what this project will be through Branch Out, we would work closely with you to do the implementation. And then this is again where you would come to look at your data. So you would log in, and here I do have a project already live. And here's where you would find out your enrollment overview. So one was someone first enrolled, one was the last enrollment, how many participants have been enrolled, how many have completed their data collection. You'd be able to export your data from here. You could understand the data dictionary. And here's just some high level information about your specific project. So what's the name, description, and looking at data collection. What are some of the topics? What are some of the custom questions that you have? And what are some of the custom symptoms that might be implemented for your specific project? The data download in this case is a CSV, so you can take that data and put it into other tools that you might want to use for your analysis. I will pop back because I did start another example project. So if someone did want to build their own outside of using a broader implementation, this is where you would go in and enter some of that information and make some of those selections. So I'll just show some of that to the group since we're here. So this is where you could add custom questions and symptoms. Mandy, I'm going to pause there and pull it back to you to ask if there were things that I skipped that you think we should just briefly cover.
Nothing that I can think of. I think this was, yeah, great. Gave a good overview of the potential. I think, the one thing, just to remind everyone that it's very customizable, and that's why, even the grant details are up to $27,000, because it really depends on how much you want as a researcher, and that conversation would happen between you and Allison to get a feel and a quote ultimately for what you require for your particular project. But yeah, does anyone have any questions for Allison at this point about My Normative? I will let that pause linger while I get up. I think if that's everything from your end, Allison, I'll move into the grant information then.
Perfect.
But of course, stop us if you have any questions. So I'm going to, can you see our website, our webpage? Okay. So I've just moved out of the slides and I'm just moving into our website because that's where we have all of the information. I guess I'll just go over the important information. So we've already opened up our letter of intent portal. There's an application that you can find by clicking here. I'll click that in a second, but it's we're accepting letter of intents for this project up until March 8th. And the letter of intent is really just an opportunity to say, what's your general idea of what you're interested in, what your current research is, and how can you use the addition of sex or gender data into your current research program. It is, very, we're not requiring a whole lot of details. It's more just like, what's your research area? And that's really just to make sure that your project is a fit for My Normative. And once we get those letter of intents in, we will evaluate them for fit. And then if it is a fit, we would invite you to apply for the full grant. The full grant will not be terribly comprehensive, but it requires a quote from My Normative. so that you know what it is that you would require from the My Normative platform in order to address your research questions. Those applications would be by invitation based on the letter of intent. We aim to do a turnaround of about a week once the letter of intent is submitted. So it doesn't have to be, if you submit early, we will reply early. And then you can start working on the application and work to get a quote and figure out exactly what My Normative can do for your research program. The funding would start really anytime once we make the decision. So we'll make decisions by June 1st, and then anytime, July 1st, August 1st, September 1st, October 1st, whatever works for your project within the end of the year. But you can start as soon as you get notification, essentially, and start getting that up and running in your program. It would be for a year. And it's up to $27,000. So the starting package, and Allison, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is about $6,000 for using My Normative, and additional components will require more, and depending on how many participants you have and all of that. So we have up to $27,000 available. Can you maybe, Allison, just talk about what are some of the things that change the price? I think I
Yeah,
listed some of them, but
you bet. So the more customization around symptomology, the questionnaires, so those longer form, if we're wanting to do in-app consent, but the baseline and exit, if we would like those to be included in the implementation, that's where we'll see a delineation between a starter versus intermediate project. Those are some of the big ones.
okay, good. So we have up to $27,000 to give. That can be a combination of what you need for My Normative, and also if you require any other research costs, the budget, whatever you propose as a budget, must be up to $27,000 and no more than that. That's what we can fund. But you could use it entirely for My Normative, or you could use half of it for My Normative and also have a research assistant if you need someone to facilitate some of this. My Normative will also be providing a lot of support that is their in-kind donation. So you will be getting an excellent experience working with My Normative to get this up and running, and see what you can do with that. Oh, actually, if I do that, I won't be able to. How do I get back? Shoot. I'm not going to, I lost it, but maybe I'll just see if there's anything here. The application you can have a look at online. Again, sorry, it's the letter of intent that is up there right now. It requires a CV describing what your research is, and how you want to use this, how you think that you could benefit from having extra sex and gender data in your research program. We're looking for projects by Canadian researchers that will make a meaningful impact towards fixing the sex and gender gap in neurological health research. So it has to relate to some neurological condition, including mental illness. And it has to include a neurochem modality. So one of those that I mentioned before, nutraceutical, mind-body solution, or personalized treatment, or technology. And we would look favorably upon any proposals that also serve to fix some of the other health inequities that exist in research. So the inclusion of trans or intersex people, or ethnically and racially diverse populations, and others that you may be working with as well. And I think that's all of it. Here's just oops, sorry, that shouldn't say graduate. Timeline. It's kind of flexible in terms of the start, as I already mentioned. But I think that's everything that I have for the details. Does anybody have any questions? I think we may have, I was going to say, I thought we lost somebody, but everyone's still here. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. It's a exciting time for us to get this into the hands of a researcher so that we can do our best to work with the inequities that exist and try to solve them. So